He was born in a world of kings, but dreamed like a god. Before him lay a world divided, empires vast yet brittle, kingdoms clinging to ancient pride. By the time he was done, that world would burn, bend, and be reborn under one name: Alexander. If you enjoy stories of history and power, remember to like this video and subscribe, so you won't miss the next great legend. Now, let us begin. He was born in 356 BCE in Pella, the heart of Macedonia. His father, King Philip II, had transformed the kingdom from a backwater state into the most disciplined military machine in Greece. His mother, Olympias, filled the boy's mind with whispers of destiny, that he was descended from Achilles, even Zeus himself. It was a dangerous belief, because Alexander believed it. As a child, he tamed a wild horse no man could ride, a black stallion named Bucephalus. While others saw danger, he saw potential. He realized the horse only feared its own shadow. From that day, Bucephalus carried him into every battle, a living symbol of fear mastered. He was educated by Aristotle, not merely in philosophy, but in geography, science, and ethics. The philosopher taught him to value reason over rage, but he also gave him an idea that would define his life: that greatness is the pursuit of excellence beyond mortal limits. When his father was assassinated in 336 BCE, Alexander was 20. The throne passed to him amid chaos. Rivals, rebellions, whispers that a boy could not rule a warrior kingdom. But he proved them wrong in months. He crushed uprisings in the north, and when the city of Thebes rebelled, he made an example so fierce it would echo for generations. He ordered it destroyed, the city razed, its people scattered. It was brutal, but decisive. Greece was united through fear and awe. But Alexander wasn't made to rule from a throne. He was made to move, to conquer, to finish the dream his father began: the invasion of Persia.
For Macedonia!
In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed the Hellespont with 37,000 men into Asia. At the shore, he cast a spear into Persian soil, declaring the land claimed by his own hand. Behind him was Greece. Before him, the empire of Persia, vast, ancient, and rich beyond measure. His first challenge came at the Battle of the Granicus River. He led the charge himself, his helmet plume gleaming like flame. Arrows hissed past as he cut through Persian nobles, his companions fighting beside him in a deadly dance. When the dust cleared, the river ran red, and Asia Minor was his. From there, city after city fell: Sardis, Halicarnassus, Miletus. He liberated some, punished others, always with the same message: submit and prosper, resist and burn. By 333 BCE, Alexander marched south and met King Darius III at Issus. The Persians numbered perhaps 100,000. Alexander had barely half that, but terrain was his ally. In the narrow plain between the mountains and the sea, Darius's numbers meant nothing. Alexander saw the opening, a weak point in the Persian line. He charged, spear leveled, directly toward Darius's chariot. The great king fled, and with him, the Persian army crumbled. Among the spoils were Darius's wife and daughters, whom Alexander treated not as captives, but with dignity. He had won, but not through cruelty. He wanted to be seen not just as conqueror, but as king. He turned south. City after city opened its gates. When he reached Egypt, they did not resist. They welcomed him as a liberator from Persian rule. There, at the temple of Amun in Siwa, priests hailed him as the son of a god. It wasn't just religion, it was propaganda. A new identity for a man who now ruled two worlds. On the coast, he founded Alexandria, a city meant to outlive him. Marble streets, wide harbors, a beacon for trade and knowledge. He was no longer just conquering, he was building. But Darius still lived, and Alexander had not yet finished. (331 BCE), the Battle of Gaugamela. It was the decisive moment. The battle that would end an empire and crown a legend. Darius assembled a massive army on an open plain, the largest field battle the ancient world had ever seen. Tens of thousands of Persian cavalry, chariots armed with blades, elephants imported from India. Alexander faced them with half the numbers, but double the discipline. He studied every inch of that ground, every possible angle of attack. When the battle began, he feigned retreat on the right flank, drawing Darius's chariots off course. Then he struck like lightning, straight through the Persian center. Once again, Darius fled, and once again, the empire fell with him. Babylon, Susa, Persepolis, cities that had once ruled the world, opened their gates. In Persepolis, Alexander stood in the palace of Xerxes, surrounded by the spoils of centuries. He ordered it burned. Some say, in drunken vengeance for the Persian invasions of Greece. Others say it was symbolic, the old world dying in fire. Now at 25, Alexander ruled everything from Greece to the mountains of Iran. But victory only fueled his hunger. He began adopting Persian customs, dressing in their robes, demanding the rituals of divine kingship. Some of his Macedonian officers whispered that he was no longer one of them. Yet Alexander didn't care. He believed he was building something greater than a nation, a unified world. He pushed farther east, beyond the edge of maps, into lands few Greeks had ever seen. Through deserts and mountains, storms and silence, every mile cost blood. But to Alexander, retreat was death. In Bactria, resistance was fierce. Ambushes in narrow passes, arrows raining from cliffs. He fought not only armies, but the land itself. There, he met Roxana, a local princess. He married her, not only for alliance, but perhaps for the first time, for love. Yet love could not slow him. Beyond the mountains lay India, a realm of kings, elephants, and monsoons. In 326 BCE, the Battle of the Hydaspes River awaited him. Rain poured for days. The river swelled, turning fields to mud. Across it stood King Porus, commanding war elephants towering above the Macedonian line. Under cover of storm, Alexander crossed the river by night. At dawn, he struck from the flank. Shields clashing, thunder above, chaos all around. The elephants crushed men beneath their feet. Spears shattered, blood and rain mixed into the earth. When the battle was done, Porus was captured. Alexander asked how he wished to be treated. "Like a king," Porus said. And Alexander, moved by his courage, granted him his throne once more. But victory had a cost. The army was exhausted, scarred, longing for home. When Alexander ordered the march eastward, toward lands no Greek had ever seen, his men refused. They had followed him for 8 years, across 10,000 miles. They had buried friends in deserts and jungles. Now they would go no farther. For the first time, Alexander faced an enemy he could not conquer, the will of his own soldiers. He turned back. The march through the Gedrosian desert was hell. Men collapsed beneath the sun. Water turned to dust before it reached their lips. Alexander walked beside them, sharing their rations, refusing to drink unless all could drink. By the time they reached Babylon, the conqueror's army was broken. But his legend was eternal. In Babylon, Alexander planned again. For Arabia, for the seas beyond, maybe for eternity itself. He dreamed of mapping the oceans, uniting cultures, building a world where East and West stood as one. But the gods he defied had other plans. In June 323 BCE, he fell ill after a banquet. Fever consumed him, his voice weakened, his body failed. Some said poison, others said exhaustion or grief for his lost companion, Hephaestion, who had died months earlier. He was 32. On his deathbed, his generals asked, who should inherit his empire? He whispered, to the strongest. A curse disguised as prophecy. Days later, he was gone. The empire fractured almost immediately. His generals, the Diadochi, tore it apart, founding their own kingdoms. The unity he dreamed of dissolved into blood and betrayal. But his influence never faded. He had carried Greek language, art, and philosophy across continents. He had bridged worlds that had never touched before. In his wake rose the Hellenistic age, where East and West began to merge, in science, in architecture, in thought. And though his body was buried, perhaps in Egypt, perhaps lost forever, his legend refused to die. He was born in a world of kings, but dreamed like a god. And for one fleeting moment, he lived like one.